Hello, this lesson is about algebraic proofs. We're going to learn how to prove algebraic equations. So let's start with the title of our lesson, which is Algebraic Proofs. And this is version A. Algebraic Proofs version A. Okay, so let's start with some vocabulary words. The reflexive property of equality states that a number or variable is equal to itself. For example, we could say that 4 is equal to 4, or another example would be x is equal to x. So the name for that is the reflexive property. The symmetric property of equality is very similar. This is stating that if one variable or one value is equal to another value, then the second value is equal to the first value. And I'll give you an example. This is a lot more simple than it seems like it would be. If x is equal to 2, then 2 is equal to x. Or another example would be if y is equal to 3, then 3 is equal to y. This just means that if you have x equals 2, you can reverse it and make it 2 equals x. Or if y is equal to 3, you can reverse that and make it 3 is equal to y. That's called the symmetric property. Okay? For the transitive property, I really don't have a great definition for this. So rather than give a definition, I'm going to give an example, or maybe two. So the transitive property states that if you have a equals b and you have b equals c, then a is equal to c. So what we're actually saying is some variable or value is equal to something else, okay, and that something else is equal to a third thing, then the first and third items, variables, are equal to each other. So I'll give you another example. If y is equal to 7 and 7 is equal to, I don't know, r, then the first and third things that are named are equal to each other. Y is equal to r. Okay, so for today, those are the most challenging questions that I might ask you. They get much easier from here. So the addition property of equality states that if you add the same number to both sides of an equation, the equation remains true. So remember that saying in algebra class, whatever you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. This is basically stating that if you add something to both sides of an equation, that's called the addition property. Okay, so subtraction is if you subtract the same number from both sides of an equation. The equation remains true. The multiplication property is very similar. If you multiply both sides of an equation by the same number, the equation remains true. And the same thing is true of the division property, except you're dividing this time. If you divide both sides of an equation by the same number, the equation remains true. Okay. The last one is the distributive property. And again, rather than give you a definition, I would really like to just give you an example. So here's our example. If we have 8 times x plus 5, we can distribute and make that 8 times x, which is 8x, and 8 times 5, which is 40. And that is probably something you have seen in algebra before. All right, let's fill in these blanks down here. This says, in geometry A, you're going to fill this in with a 2-column proof. A 2-column proof looks like this. And let me show you how that's going to be set up. So we're going to be doing some 2-column proofs. Typically you see the word proof, and then underneath that, on one side you have statements, and on the other side you have the word reasons. So let's look at an example of a 2-column proof. Here's the first example. Okay, it says solve and write a justification for each step. So I'll start with, this is a proof, statements on one side and reasons on the other. Okay, so the first statement is you write down the equation. 2x plus 1/6 times 4x minus 12 equals 17. And the reason for that is it was given to you. Okay, the second statement is, well, what would you do next? I would probably start distributing here. Okay, so I have 2x plus 4 times 1/6, or 1/6 times 4 is 4/6, which is actually 2/3. So we have 2/3 x minus 1/6 times 12 is 12 over 6, which is actually 2. So this is 1/6 times negative 12 gives you negative 2. So I have 2x plus 2/3 minus 2 equals 17. And we use the distributive property of equality. Okay, the next step is I would like to combine these like terms. It's actually going to be combining like terms here. Combine like terms. So 2x plus 2/3 x. All right, so I have 2, which is the same as 6/3, plus I'm going to add 2/3 to that. That's 8/3. 8/3 x minus 2 equals 17. Okay, now I have this minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides of this equation. If I add 2 to the left side, the negative 2 cancels out, it disappears. I have 8/3 x equals 17 plus 2 is 19. So I added to both sides. This is the addition property of equality. And the last step that I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 3/8, the reciprocal of 8/3. 19 times 3/8 is actually 57/8, and I'm going to leave my answer as 57 over 8. I multiplied this by 3/8. That is the multiplication property of equality. Okay, so we have done the first example. Here's the second one. We are going to solve this and write a justification for each step. So we'll start again with statements and reasons. Okay, and the first statement is you write down the equation. And the first reason is given. Okay. Next, we're going to combine like terms. 1x and 22x is 23x. Minus 12 equals 3x minus 1 over 5. That was combine like terms. Okay. The next step is I would like to multiply both sides of the equation by 5 because that will undo this denominator of 5. So I'm going to multiply the left by 5. And when I multiply the right side by 5, it makes the denominator of 5 cancel out. So I have just 3x minus 1. Since we multiply both sides by 5, this is the multiplication property of equality. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is distribute this 5. 5 times 23 is 115. 115x minus 5 times negative 12 is 60. Well, it's actually negative 60 equals 3x minus 1. This is 115x minus 60 equals 3x minus 1. We distributed. So we're going to say this is the distributive property of equality. Okay? After that, I would like to subtract 3x from both sides. That will give me 112x minus 60 equals negative 1. Okay? This is the subtraction property of equality because I subtracted 3x from both sides. Then I'm going to add 60 to both sides. I get 112x, the 60 cancels out. Negative 1 plus 60 is 59. So I have 112x equals 59. Okay? Because I added to both sides, this is the addition property of equality. Okay, and the last step here, we can divide by 112. So I get 59 over 112, which is division property of equality. Okay, so let me scroll down to the last one, which is the practice. This would be an excellent opportunity for you to pause the video and try this on your own. I'm going to go ahead and do this one now. Let me scroll back up so you can actually see it. There we go. Okay, so we're going to solve and write a justification for each step. Okay, we've got statements and we have reasons. And the first statement is always given to us and we write it down. X minus 1/3 times 2x plus 12 equals 22 minus 19x. So first, I think I would like to distribute. So I'm going to write down this is the distributive property of equality. Okay, so you have x minus 2 times negative 1/3 is negative 2/3. So you have x minus 2/3 x minus 1/3 of 12 is 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So you've got minus 4 equals 22 minus 19x. Okay? Then I have 1x minus 2/3 x. Okay? So 3/3 minus 2/3 leaves us with the 1/3. 1/3 x minus 4 equals 22 minus 19x. Okay, so we combine some like terms. And the reason why that's not subtraction property of equality is because we didn't subtract the same thing from both sides. All we did was put this one and this one together. Now I also see that I have, this was an equal sign, I have a 19x over here and a 1/3 x over here, I am going to add 19x to both sides. 19x plus 1/3 x is actually 58/3 x. Okay, so if you didn't know, 19 times 3 is 67. Let me check that real quick. 57, excuse me. And one more third here, so you've got 57/3. That's the same thing as 19. 57/3 x plus 1/3 x is 58/3 x. So all I did was rewrite this 19x as 57 over 3. Okay, and I still have minus 4 equals 22. So we did the addition property of equality. All right, step 5, we're going to add 4 to both sides. I've got 58 over 3x equals 26. That is the addition property of equality again. Okay, and the last step here, well, almost the last step, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 over 58, the reciprocal of 58/3. 26 times 3 over 58 is 78 over 58. Okay, so that's the multiplication property of equality because I multiply both sides by 3 over 58. And the last step here is I would really like to simplify this. 78 over 58 simplifies into 39 over 29. So the answer is x equals 39 over 29, and this was, we just simplified the fraction. All right, thank you so much for watching.